Okay, so let's go through some of these questions on the quiz review or test review. We have the first page. I think you need to do all of these questions and feel very confident in all of them. Second page, I feel similarly. It'd be advantageous to understand all of these and feel confident in them. On the third page, I think it's more important that you spend your time on these questions. This is writing an equation of a circle in standard form. Looks like we got a few of these already in standard form. The other ones are not in standard form, so you need to know how to write them in standard form. And then this last page, I starred the ones that I think you should certainly practice, but really doing all of them would be helpful. So let's get started. This first page should be the easiest for you, and you should, again, feel very confident doing it. I'll write right up here just the standard form, of the equation of a circle. Looks like this, and I'll show you right here. I like to do these sort of, it's like a stencil. Just tells you, okay, imagine h were -4. So the center is -4, 0. Imagine we had k to be 3. So you can see the center is, and I'll actually do this, h, k. We got the point right there. So you can see as it moves around, the center is h, k. And then the radius here, as you increase that, so when the radius is 5, this is what you get, a radius of 5. This can be moved around. So for the first one here, we have a center of -3, 2 and a diameter of 32. So we know this is hk. So in this case, we would have x minus -3, which we can write like x plus 3. And then our k is +2, so we should have y minus 2. Now we're supposed to have our radius squared here, but all we're given is our diameter. So our diameter is 32. And we all know that diameter is 2 times the radius, right? Diameter is 2 times the radius. So that means we must take half of the diameter. Right? 1/2 of the diameter is equal to the radius. So we know that the radius is equal to 16. So here we should have 16 squared. 16 to the power of 2, which is 256. Yeah, 256. Alright, so this should be 256. And if you want to see what that looks like, we said our radius is 16, right? So, and then we had it centered at -3, 2. So h should be -3, k should be +2. So it would look like this. Alright. Now let's look at this one. Again, x minus h. If it helps, you can write hk above it. It's really just filling in the blank. Y minus 7 squared equals, and we should have 3.5 squared, which is 12.25. Good, so these are those basic questions. This one, we are not given the radius, but we need to write first this side of the equation. And we're setting it equal to r squared because that's the equation of the circle. Now to find r squared, we can plug in this point right here. So negative 7 plus 7 squared plus 1 minus 6 squared equals r squared. So we get 0 squared plus, that should be negative 5 squared equals r squared. So we know r squared equals 25. Although we know that since r squared is 25, we know r equals 5. We can just take this and use this to replace our r squared here. You should have 25, so this should be your answer. Alright, let's look at a couple of these. It asks us to write the equation of each circle. So, looking at this, these, you need to notice this, these go by 2's, right? These go by 2's. We got 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on. So, we know if we're moving in the x direction first, we go over 1, and then we go up 4. So our center is 1, 4. That's HK, guys. So, plug it in. X minus 1 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals, and we can actually count our radius here, right? We can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our radius is 5, which means we should write 25 for our equation. So that's your answer for that one. Here we have the centers at negative 1, comma, and we go down 4, 5, 6 units. So negative 6. So our equation should look like this. X plus 1 squared plus y plus 6 squared equals our radius squared. What's our radius here? We know these go by 2's. 2, 4, 6, so on. So half of 1 is just 1. So 1, 2, 3. So our radius is 3. So we should have 9 as radius squared. Alright, let's look at a couple of these. Determine whether each equation represents a circle. If so, describe the location of the center and the radius of the circle. So this is already written in standard form. It's got our x squared and our y squared, and then it also has the radius squared. Here we go. This is pretty easy, right? This is supposed to be x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So we know hk is our center, and in this case we have that hk is negative 7, negative 8, and our radius squared is 64, therefore our radius equals 8, because 8 is the square root of 64. Now to focus more on the questions that we need to turn into standard form, we start out by grouping our x's and leaving a space, then grouping our y's and leaving a space. And then let's move this constant to the other side, but to do that, quote, move it, is we need to subtract 160 from both sides. When we do that, we end up with negative 160 on the other side of the equation, and finally we have to add those two spaces. What is the number that we add to the first box, this box, and this box? Well, we take this value right here, cut it in half, and square it. When we get to the y's, we'll do the same thing. So half of 24 is 12. 12 squared is 144. So we get 144. Got to add it to this side as well. And then half of 10 is 5. So 5 squared is 25. What do we get when we add these up? Well, 144 plus 25 is 169, and we're subtracting 160, so we end up with 9. Now, to factor this, It's actually quite easy. Since we know it's a circle, we know it's going to be in this form. With the numbers we use, right here and right here, correlate to the ones that are highlighted here. Those are called the linear term. So let's look at it. Take 24, cut it in half. That's all you do. It's a positive, sorry, should be 12. Cut it in half. And since it's a positive 10 for our y, we will cut that in half. And this is what we get. Now it asks us to find the center and the radius, so we should have center is -12, comma -5, and our radius is the square root of 9, because 9 is our radius squared. We could do this one real quick. Remember, group the x's, leave a space, group the y's, leave a space. This constant is already on the other side of the equation, so that's good. What do we do? Well, let's take half of 6. Remember, these are the numbers we use. Take half of -6, it's -3, and we square it, we get 9. And then half of 32 is 16, so we square, well, -16, but when you square it, you get a positive 256. 56. What I'll do is add these numbers up first. We know 9 plus 256 is 265. So 265 plus -264 is clearly just positive 1. So we have 1 is equal to, and remember guys, this is the easy part. You take those highlighted numbers there and you just cut them in half. And you're done. There's the equation of the circle, which means you know HK should be +3, +16, and our radius, since our radius squared is 1, our radius must be 1.